So we'll do the endocrine system now, and we'll start with histology, where we are looking here at a slide of the pancreas. It is divided into several portions called lobules by septa, which are nothing but connective tissue which passes in between, dividing it into the septa. And inside these lobules, we have the exocrine portion of the pancreas, which consists of these dark staining acini. What an acinus basically is an area which has a duct, and then this enlarges into a flask-shaped zone, which is lined by cells which are secretory. The duct just transports, and here are the nuclei of these cells, and here is the duct. Now if we take a section through this flask-shaped portion, then we get these tall cells which are secretory, well stained, and with nuclei which take up a blue stain. So this whole thing takes up the stain well, so these are known as serous acini because they produce a thin fluid. The endocrine portion consists of these islets, and if you look at islets, they just consist of cells, and we can barely make out the cytoplasm. We just see the nuclei, and these cells, which are alpha and beta cells and other cells as well, which secrete insulin and glucagon, these are interspersed between these acini. So here, if we look, we can see up here, we can see these islets interspersed, and then here are the serous acini. So when you see an island like this, you immediately know that this is the pancreas. The next gland we are going to look at is the thyroid, which again is, so here's the thyroid gland. And in the thyroid, the first and most typical thing that you see is you see these round structures which are known as follicles. These are lined by cuboidal epithelium, and inside each follicle is a pink homogeneous structure which is called the colloid. And a follicle is nothing else but a round structure like this. So it's a round structure lined by cuboidal cells, and then in between, inside the cuboidal cells, you have this, inside the follicle you have this colloid. So that's what the thyroid gland looks like. Very, very typical. You'll see a lot of blood vessels inside, and these follicular cells produce the hormones T3 and T4, which are actually found in the colloid and then taken back into the cell. In between the follicles, you have cells called C cells, also known as parafollicular cells, and these parafollicular cells secrete a different hormone. So they are not present in the colloid but outside of the colloid, and as always you need to know the functions of these hormones. The next gland we are going to look at is the adrenal gland. Now this is a little difficult to tell, but you begin with the capsule. So when you look at the capsule of the gland, then you will see the first zone, which is about a quarter of the entire length like this, is known as Zona Glomerulosa, and here the cells are arranged, the cells here are arranged in circles, because that's why we call it Zona Glomerulosa. So the cells kind of present like this as balls. So these are the cells which are present here, and that's known as Zona Glomerulosa. The next zone where the cells are arranged in bundles, this is called Zona Fasciculata, and then the last zone is called the Zona Reticularis. These three belong to the cortex. And then up here, which is usually a little bit darker staining with a lot of spaces in between, this is the medulla, which produces different hormones. So the way to identify is to go from the capsule, the first zone, glomerulosa, fasciculata, and reticularis. This is 2/4, this is about 1/4, and the reticularis 2/1/4. And you should be able to, you should know the hormones and the functions of the hormones of all the cortical zones as well as the medulla. Then we come down to the actual glands. So here is a plate which showing you all the glands. So you can see the hypothalamus with the pituitary, the thyroid, the adrenal gland up here, the testes, the pancreas, the parathyroid glands on the posterior aspect of the thyroid. This is the anterior aspect, and here are the ovaries present here. So let's look at some of these in a little bit more detail. So here we are looking at the brain, and this is a cut section of the brain. So this area here is the hypothalamus with an anterior and a posterior portion. You must know functions and hormones produced by both. Then here is the pituitary gland, and here on just posterior to the hypothalamus and even the pituitary, this little gland here is the pineal gland. So once again, must know functions and the hormones produced by these. Here we are looking at the front aspect of the larynx. So this is the thyroid gland on the anterior aspect, also seen on the posterior aspect up here. And then on the posterior aspect, on one side, the other side is not shown, you can see the two small parathyroid glands. Once again, you should know the functions of these glands and the hormones produced by them. Here we are looking at the pancreas, and it has three major portions. The head of the pancreas, which is this area. Here is the body of the pancreas. Here is the tail close to the spleen, where most of the islets are found. And then in the center you can see this duct, which is for the exocrine portion of the pancreas. And then this here is the suprarenal or adrenal gland, as you can see, and the outer area is the cortex with those three zones, and the inner area is the medulla, and the hormones produced by each of the cortical zones and the hormones produced by the medulla are different, and you need to know the functions of these hormones.